Just like before, I was saying that the rule management is tied in with the alert management system. The storage safe system is a component of our recurring payment solution. Now, all of our merchants don't necessarily have a need for recurring payments, but if you do, by calling customer service or notifying your original salesperson, we can easily turn on our recurring payment module. Like all of our other modules, the recurring payment module default page allows you to search for any recurring transactions, or you can go ahead and add a new recurring option. The recurring payment module, sometimes people have some questions about what some of the fields mean, so I'll go through them all briefly here. Like with some of our previous screens, there's a description. The description is really just meant there for your own common sense to let you know what the recurring module is. So for example, here I could say, this is David's recurring payment. The first thing you're doing is you're designating that it's a billing type of sale. So at some regular interval, we'll be doing a new sale. You can designate how often, and so it says every blank, and you have the options of days, months, or years. Some customers would typically want to process a transaction every 1 month, or some customers prefer to process a transaction every 30 days. It's essentially the same thing. The difference is in months with 31 days, you would actually be increasing that increment. There's questions that come up about the initial amount versus the recurring amount, and we've put little tooltips here. So if you click on this, this will tell you that the initial amount is the amount that will be charged on the first date of billing. So if I come in here and I say I want to process a $1 transaction, but I want to have a recurring transaction amount of $19.95, and I want a start date of someday in the future. So maybe you don't want this recurring schedule to start until the 31st of the month. There are also questions about the retry count and the retry frequency. Retry count and retry frequency, we most commonly recommend that you put the number 3 for both of these fields. What this means is that if a recurring transaction is declined for non-sufficient funds, we will automatically retry that transaction a total of 3 times over a period of every 3 days. This is the maximum that Visa will allow, and it's a compliance feature that you optionally would do less, not at all, or this type of retry frequency. We're not allowed to retry transactions that are declined for reasons other than non-sufficient funds. In other words, if a decline comes back because the card has been canceled, we would not automatically retry to process that transaction. It would never eventually be approved. The end criteria at the bottom of the recurring payment have 4 different options. None, which is the idea that you're going to bill the person repeatedly until such time that you stop the recurring transaction. X number of occurrences, if you want to bill the person only a set number of times. For example, if you say I want to bill them 5 times. An amount, where you could bill them $19.95 until, let's say, $150 is processed. In the event that the numbers don't work out, the system will actually process the last transaction for the random amount that totals the $150 in this instance, or until a set date is selected. And you can navigate through to whatever date that would be. So in other words, in this case, they'd be charged $19.95 until, let's say, May 1st of 2017. Underneath the end criteria, it says, what would you like to do? And you have 2 options. You can either add a new wallet or assign an available wallet. Adding a new wallet is just going to send you back to the storage safe option where you create that wallet, or assigning an available wallet brings you back to the storage safe section where you can search for a wallet. And like before, you can go ahead and search based on the person's specific information. And so if I come here and I enter my first name, last name, and search, I'm going to get back the wallet information that we created just a few moments ago. You'll notice that there's one account, and that account has a radio button in the right-hand side. If you select that account and then click Save, it will tell you at the top that the recurring payment has been saved successfully. So now we've been returned back to the recurring module where we have David's recurring payment, and it shows the wallet that we've assigned, and now it gives you two additional features: previous transactions, of which we wouldn't expect any, but they would be displayed if they're there, and then future transactions, where the system calculates up to the next year of transactions that would be processed. It'll also show you the scheduled transaction total amount, so you can verify that the recurring transaction that you've established is as you expect it to be processed. At the right-hand side, underneath retry frequency, once a recurring transaction has been saved, you'll see the current amount, which $0 has been processed, and then the current count. And so it would show you if any transactions happened. If I look at an older recurring record, what you'll notice is that in addition to the future scheduled transactions, I can also see a detailed list of all of the times that that transaction had been processed previously. And the current amount shows how much has been processed to date and the number of transactions that have been processed to date. This example has an end criteria of none, so it'll just continue to bill forever. Beyond that, each of these individual records are hyperlinks that would take you into the transaction detail that we saw before. So, for example, maybe one of your cardholders has a problem with some service that was provided, in this case back in June of 2016. By going to this recurring record, seeing that transaction, clicking on that transaction, you can view the details, and then again you can perform an action. So perhaps you want to go ahead and perform a refund on one of those transactions. You can do it without obtaining the cardholder information from the beginning of time.